Hi guys, I'm just going to put together a wee video to show you how to put this zip in like a zip sandwich. So when you've got your outside panel here facing up, you're going to put your zip on top, lining up the top of the raw edge of the zip with the raw edge of the fabric. The zip is facing down, okay? Pretend that this has got your margarine on it and the zip is the ham going in the sandwich. And then your lining piece is going face down on top of that. That's also got margarine on it, so it's going to be inside the sandwich. Right, and then you're going to pin along here with your pins facing this way to secure that to sew. Okay, here we are, all ready to take it to the sewing machine. Here we are with the zip foot on the machine. I'm going to sew, lining up my eye with the edge of the fabric, and the zip's going to sew on the inside of the zipper foot along here to secure those pieces together. Okay, here we are, I've sewn that. Might be able to see the stitching line there. And now I need to press it. Okay, so I'm going to lift up the lining, and the first thing I'm going to do is press that away from the zip with my iron. Like that. And then I'm going to flip it over and press the exterior fabric away from the zip. All right. And then I'm going to sew a line of top stitching along here to make sure it stays away from the zip. Okay, see this top stitching there? All right, so now we're going to construct the second zip sandwich. So we're going to pretend there's nothing on here at the moment, and we're focusing on this part of the zip. So here's my other exterior piece. So I'm going to flip this one over so the zip is right sides down, matching up with the edge of that first exterior piece. Now before I put the lining on, I need to check that my seams here are lined up so that when we sew it, it looks like a continuous line and it's much neater. So those are lined up like that. Then I get my second lining piece and I'm going to put that over the top to line up with the edge of the zip at the top. Now, don't worry if you have bits hanging over the edge here or if they were hanging over on this side, because those lining pieces move because they're not interfaced. Right, so I'm going to pin it, sew it, press it, and top stitch it. Alrighty, here we are. Now, the next step is going to be constructing the bag. The first thing you need to do is open the zip to about 3/4 open. If you don't do this, you won't be able to open your bag at the end, so it's really important. Okay, so now we're going to make the exterior part of the bag. We're going to flip just this exterior piece over to touch this exterior piece, okay? And then I'm going to just lift it to flip the other interior piece out of the way. So now we've got interior or lining on this side and exterior on this side. So the first thing we need to do is again line up those seams, and you'd put a pin in here, okay? Just make sure it's all kind of lined up on this exterior piece, and then slide your hand so that this bit goes nice and flat, and then you're going to do your best to line up these edges. The lining pieces don't line up perfectly, so don't stress about that. Now what we're going to do is just make sure our zips are folded so that they're right sides together. So that one is folded there. You can see that the zip teeth are facing the lining, and then on this side where it's not quite open, we just have to help it out and fold it ourselves. Okay, and we can put a pin in there to kind of help that. So what you're going to do at this point is you're going to put a pin here first, and then you're going to pin around here and then around here, leaving about a hand size hole in this spot here. I'll just pin it and show you. Okay, here we are ready to go. You can see that I have put pins here and here. This is where I'm going to start. I'm going to go around to the corner, pivot, sew down, over my zip slowly to this corner, pivot, come round, pivot, come round, go over the zip slowly, pivot on this corner and stop here. Okay, what might be a good tip is flip it over so you can see the back. Sometimes you've got an uneven amount with your lining. If you want to, you can trim off the excess so that you don't sew along and not catch this bottom part. Mine's not too bad, so I'll just give myself a little bit of room there. Right, so we're going around in a square and leaving a space here for turning shortly.
One, go.
Okay, so now I've sewn all the way around in a square and I've left a gap for my hand. The next part we're going to do is box the corners. So I need to put my hand inside and bring my hand way over to one of those corners that's inside there. Right, I've got my tall finger up inside that corner and I'm going to lay the seams over my hand, over my finger, and then I'm going to slide my finger out so that the seams are laying on top of each other. Now to check that they are, I'm going to look inside the bag and see that that the seam is lined up like that. Okay, if it's lined up, you're going to measure down 1 inch from the middle of that V and put a pin in. Okay, so we put a pin in there. This is going to create the bottom of the bag so it can sit up. Now, pretty much exactly where my pin is like that, I'm going to sew a line across with the sewing machine. I need to do that on all 4 corners. Okay, I've been round and I've pinned each of the corners. So now I'm ready to go to the sewing machine and sew across to make a new seam there. Make sure you go backwards and forwards, sew across, go backwards and forwards. If you want to, you could rule a line with chalk or with a pencil to help you out, but your pin should be able to guide you. Okay, here's what it looks like when it's underneath the sewing machine. You just kind of have to flatten this bit as best as you can so that you get a nice flat surface here to sew on, and you go backwards and forwards, sew through, and then go backwards and forwards at the other end. Righty, at this point we are nearly done. You've just got to trim off your corners and your zips if you do that in line with the seam allowance. Okay, so we're just trimming about 1 centimetre away on those little corners, like that. Just cut all 4 of them off. And you can trim off your zip. I just do it in line with the fabric. And down there, you don't need those bits anymore. Okay, your bag is nearly done. First thing we're going to do is turn it in the right way. Okay, put your fingers into the corners, poke them out. Like that. You can do the same with the lining ones. Push the corner of your zip up nice and strong. Open the zip all the way up. And the last thing you need to do is sew that hole shut with about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Let's pretend I've done that. Then you can pop it inside your bag. Voila, all finished.